White people, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our violence. White violence. No more deflecting, no more blaming everything on everybody else. Let's confront ourselves. White people in America, our history is so extremely violent. And instead of confronting that, we continue to blame other people for the issues and the problems in this country, instead of just taking ownership of our part to play in everything, which is a huge part. Can we stop scapegoating other groups of people, please, and just look at ourselves? White people, it's time to talk about it. Like, it's long past time. Getting rid of other groups of people in this country is not going to make this country better. It's not going to make your life better. It's not going to make you better. I think white people are so scared to talk about race and to talk about white violence and white supremacy because they don't want to connect themselves to it. We don't want to feel like we're a part of the problem. But unless you're acknowledging the reality of how the US, this country, runs, you are a part of the problem. I truly believe in my heart, in my soul, that if you're born a white person in this country or on this planet, but I'll just speak about this country, part of that journey is to dismantle systems that have been built to oppress other people. The hard work of life is to confront yourself. How do I benefit from the way that things are? And how does my benefiting from those things harm other people? And instead of walking around with, 1,000-pound bag of shame on your back, consider it your responsibility to do that work. Consider it an opportunity that you are in the best possible position to make this world a better place by not accepting racist and prejudiced and oppressive systems for what they are and trying to contribute to changing them.
Greetings, my lovely people, and I hope you're doing fantastic. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about something that America doesn't want to face, white-on-white violence. So when people hear about a crime, the media pushes images of black people, immigrants, and people of color. But the truth is different. The biggest threat to white people in America is not black people, not immigrants, but white people. History, statistics, and daily news all point to this. Yet instead of confronting the reality, the system builds fear against other people while ignoring the violence within. Let's break this down together.
The lead murderers in America are white men. The lead robbers in America are white men. The largest amount of rapists are white men. The highest number of domestic abusers is white men. The highest number of arrested pedophiles is white men. The greatest number of drug dealers arrested is white men. But if you ask the average American who are the proponents of crime, is a black face to it. They're now trying to create this narrative that the immigrants are bringing in the crime because they never want to own up to what it is that they have done. Part of our responsibility is to pull the sheets off. We had a shooting here in Georgia not long ago. A young man named Colt, 14 years old, went and shot up his high school. His father's now being charged. Can you imagine what conversation me and you would be having if Colt was black and Colt's black father gave him a gun? The television, the internet would explode on the irresponsibility of black fathers, on why it is that young black men have guns and are carrying guns. It has always shifted to make black men feel hyper-aggressive, hypersexual, and hyper-criminalized. It's part of a larger, historic, original sin of America that always criminalizes and points their fingers at black men when it's absolutely not true. The overwhelming majority, Cam, of black men who are under penal supervision are under penal supervision for nonviolent offenses. They're on ankle bracelets, home monitors, on parole, on probation, for possession, not for distribution. It may not sound like it's significant, but it's very meaningful. And so that's why it is that we've got to ask the hard and the difficult questions. Where is criminal justice in America? And is justice just us?
White people, if crime statistics really mattered to us, we would be talking about white men every damn day. We as white people love to throw around statistics when it comes to the black community. We love to misconstrue data about poverty rates, crime rates, single-parent households. Here's the thing. If you really want to talk about problematic behavior in terms of statistics, we need to talk about white men. Most mass shootings in America? White men. School shootings? White men. Intimate partner violence, typically known as domestic violence? White men. Police brutality and systemic violence? White men. Online harassment and extremism? White men. Domestic terrorism? White men. Serial killers? White men. The demographic making up the vast majority of CEOs, judges, senators, and police chiefs who refuse to hold white men responsible? White men. And yet us white men are really talked about as being a problem. Few white people are asking, what's wrong with white men? What's wrong with the culture? Few white men are demanding that we be fixed. And why? Because we as white men humanize and individualize white violent offenders. And it's time to flip the script. To shame and blame, because I know white males are incredibly fragile when it comes to that, but instead to name what's really going on and who continues to be protected and not held accountable because of selective storytelling. I hope this helps.
Here's the truth we all know. This country is not going to find internal peace or unity until the right wing learns to have some accountability. It's the guns, by which I mean gun culture. I am not talking about hunting. I'm not talking about teaching your children about safe use of guns in the woods. I am talking about gun culture where adolescent boys are bathed in assault rifles and photographed with them and learn to use guns as a mode of expression and self-empowerment. I am talking about political leaders who wear assault rifles on their lapels as a symbol. That's the problem. 1,500 mass shootings in the last 25 years. That's the problem.
Use the privilege that you have for good. I don't think that anybody can ever really love themselves without being honest about themselves, without being honest with themselves. And that work is painful and hard, but it's so worth it. White people, you don't have to consciously think that you're better than other people in order to contribute to harm against them. All it takes to contribute to harm is to stay silent and disengaged. White people, can we finally get this shit right? Can we finally take accountability? Can we finally look ourselves in the mirror and decide that this isn't good enough? We're not doing a good enough job. You aren't losing because somebody else is safe and cared for. You aren't losing because somebody different than you exists. White people, let's talk about it. Let's start having these conversations with ourselves and with each other. It's time.
When you really look at the facts, white people in America are more at risk from other white people. The FBI and the Department of Justice just showed that 80% of crimes committed against white people are done by white people. When we talk about mass shooting, over half of them are committed by white men, school shootings, domestic terrorism, and mass killers are all committed by white people. But instead of facing that problem, white America often point fingers elsewhere. They usually blame black communities, immigrants, and even Muslims. They create a picture of some outside enemy that is responsible for America's problems. But the numbers don't lie. The violence lies within.
And what we really should be talking about is the white-on-white violence in this country. If we can control the white thugs in this country, maybe we would have less violence. I mean, white people are growing up in violent homes. I hear they get shotguns on their birthdays. I mean, America has always been an extremely violent country. I'm not surprised that white conservatives who think that political violence is the answer for every solution is resorting to guns. Aren't they the same people that said guns matter more than children? I'm not racist. I have white friends. I just think that white thugs are an issue. I mean, look at the data. The data speaks to it alone. I think white people probably should serve longer sentences in jail. I mean, listen, the prison industrial complex, it does help, right? Maybe we should lock them up more. Maybe we should bring back the 3-strike rule. I don't know, guys. This is just my opinion, and unlike those white thugs, I don't believe that your opinion should cause political violence. Hashtag all opinions matter. Hashtag love is love. Hashtag peace be the world.
This is not our fight. You know how they love to highlight black on black crime? They call us monsters. Even number 47, that ignorant president, has the audacity to want to unleash military, trying to control, or they're always talking about immigrants, taking our children and raping the women. They're always blaming things on immigrants and black people.
Can we stop, for once, at least, maybe in our nation's history, stop trying to blame white on white crime on black people? Can we stop it for once, at least, please? Like, we all knew when Charlie Kirk was killed. We knew who this was going to be. We knew who the suspect was going to be, a young white man. We knew it. And yet, some people tried to spin this to say it was something else. And now threats are being lobbied against black students at universities. Black HBCUs are being threatened to be blown up. I think 4 of them had to shut down yesterday and today because they had to deal with bomb threats. It was never them. It's never been the black community. We always blame anybody else but ourselves. But the call is coming from inside the house. We are the problem. White on white crime, we are the problem. We have always been the problem. So let's for once stop trying to blame somebody else and look inward and try to address the actual problems that we are the ones creating upon ourselves.
As a white man of European descent, I thought I'd get on here and say what needs to be said. The white on white crime has to stop. Since Fox News and Republican pundits love to talk about black on black crime all the time, I think it's worth noting that the majority of mass shootings are committed by white men. And the majority of victims of those shootings are white people, mainly white children. Actually, the majority of perpetrators of crimes in this country are white men. So, since one party, the Republican Party, likes to make everything about race and broadcast every time a black person commits a crime or a brown person commits a crime or an immigrant commits a crime, I think it's worth noting again that today we found out the shooter of Charlie Kirk, a white man, was Tyler Robinson, another white man. We've got a real white on white problem in this country, and we need to fix the white on white crime.
White on white violence is a problem in this country, but it's not talked about as much as it should. Charlie Kirk and right-wing conservatives, they have no problem with talking about violence when it comes to black and brown people or people of color. Like, they can voice their opinions loud and let it be known that they have an issue or a problem when it comes to people of color doing crime, or doing violence towards others. But when it comes to white on white, like, they are quiet, they are silent. You don't hear them say anything about it. Why is that? Why don't conservatives and people like, people on the right, why don't they not talk about white on white violence?
I think this is a perfect time for us to talk about the white on white crime, one of the biggest problems in this country. What causes these white boys with American flags and pickup trucks, raised with Republican values, to become the next school shooters and terrorizing communities across the country? Statistics now show that behind every red hat family, there's a terrorist being raised. And we must put a ban on all the white boys with American flags and pickup trucks until we figure out what's going on.
The media likes showing news of black men in handcuffs or immigrants being dragged across the border, That picture is repeated over and over until it sticks in people's mind. Yet the real killers, the mass shooters, are in malls, churches, concerts that take innocent lives, are all white people. That's a criminal profile America doesn't want to admit. So you might wonder, why is this being hidden? It is because it is easier to sell fear about others, It's easier to say that the problems comes from black neighborhoods, from foreigners, than to admit that violence is deeply rooted in white American history. The same history of colonization, slavery, lynching, and terrorism has not gone away, but it has simply changed form. And today, it shows up as mass shootings, extremist groups, and domestic terrorism. Meanwhile, studies show that immigrants actually commit less crime because most people like blaming immigrants for the crimes in America, but they don't want to risk, deportation. They are careful not to jeopardize their stay because they don't want to lose the life they are trying to build. Yet immigrants get painted as criminals every single day. So here is the bottom line. Until America is ready to confront the violence within its own white communities, more tragedies are going to happen. More innocent lives will be lost while blaming the wrong people. The real question America needs to ask itself is, when will white America take ownership of white violence? Not as an attack, not as hate, but as responsibility. Because just like every other community has to face its own problems, white America must also face theirs. So, if the media, the leaders, and politicians were being honest, they'll stop pushing fake fears about immigrants and black people. They'd rather start teaching the truth that the greatest danger to white Americans, statistically and historically, has been white Americans. So until that happens, we are going to be seeing the same cycle, denial, destruction, and disaster. Facing the truth is a first step to change, By denying, it only makes the problem even worse, all right? So I hope America is going to take a decisive action and really look into white on white crime and stop denying and blaming it on other people, all right? Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.